Hello and welcome to the Foilist TV. You asked for it, and now here it is. Your most requested bout from the round of 32, Yuki Ota of Japan versus Guilherme Toldo of Brazil. Oh god, the feelings. But anyway, before I get into that, the usual things apply. Links in the description to the Fencers Who's Who videos, and to the commentated bout on Google Drive. And now for the analysis. Okay, where to begin? Alright, this bout gave me all the feelings, but I'll do my best to keep things strictly empirical. Yeah, right, like that's gonna happen. Cue the sad music. Okay, but in all seriousness, this bout was a major upset. And if we want to analyze it, a logical question to ask is why it happened. Although it's very tempting to pin the blame on one mistake or aspect or person, the reality is almost always much more complicated. As is often said of the tango, it takes two to make an upset happen. We have to look at both fencers to figure this thing out. Yuki Ota is a very strong fencer. His raw technique is outstanding, and his hand speed is widely regarded as the fastest in the world. Ota's fencing revolves around two actions: a long-distance, very athletic attack, and blisteringly fast infighting with remises. He does what he does very well, but tactically he's pretty rigid. He'll force his opponents to play his game, rather than adapting to what his opponents do. He also takes a long time to get going during the bout, but once he's on a roll, he's very hard to deal with. Guilherme Toldo is a bit weird of a fencer. He's left-handed, so he has a slight advantage there. His technique is nowhere near Ota's, and he's not quite as fast, but tactically he's Ota's exact opposite. He has a very broad repertoire, and can adapt to his opponents if given time to experiment, but none of his actions are really threatening enough to control the bout on their own. He's a very emotional fencer, and it seems he's at his best when the score is very close. Whenever he's too far ahead, he gets sloppy, but as long as he's in the fight, he's bringing his A-game. So for the general flow of the bout, you can sort of see how this is starting to work. Ota starts off at intensity level 1, and Toldo gets an early lead. Ota eventually wakes up and goes to intensity level 2, evening the scores. Toldo adapts to Ota's strategy and pulls ahead again, disrupting Ota's momentum. Ota finally gets to intensity level 3 and pulls back even, and so on and so forth. Ota's slow increase in intensity was matched by Toldo slowly figuring out how to deal with it. Whenever Toldo got a few points ahead, he would get a bit sloppy, and Ota would pull back. Emotionally, the bout was balanced on a knife edge. Ota was always on the verge of surging ahead, and Toldo was barely keeping him in check. The second period is the best example of that. Ota was down 12-10, but he came out really strong and aggressive, and scored 3 touches in quick succession. But then 3 phrases happened where nobody scored, and his intensity began to wane, and Toldo, fueled by the close scores, took it over. Once Ota's momentum was broken, Toldo cruised through the next 3 touches to win. There was one specific point that really blew my mind. Let's go back to Ota's infighting. Now, he always looks like he's twice as fast as his opponents, but that's actually a bit deceptive. He's not that much faster than most. The secret to Ota's infighting is that he doesn't ever search for the blade, he only ever tries to hit. Typically, people get into this rhythmic mindset of parrying and riposting back and forth when they infight, so by just constantly looking for the target, Ota gets twice as many chances to hit, even though he's moving at about the same speed. Because his infighting is so aggressive, most opponents won't even think about riposting. If they do try to riposte, Ota will land his next remise, and a clever angle of the blade will be enough to keep him from getting hit. This was a very dangerous action from Ota, so how did Toldo respond? He just threw caution to the winds and did exactly what Ota did right back. This guy has balls of steel, going toe-to-toe with Ota like he did, but it flicking worked. Toldo out-Ota'd Ota. And the craziest part was that Ota had to keep going for infighting touches, even though his chances were 50-50 at best. That's just insane to me. Toldo neutralized Ota's most powerful asset with nothing more than sheer confidence and a strong jawline. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Toldo won with a score of 15-13 and went on to fence Chung Ka-long in the round of 16. Check out the commentary and feel free to discuss this bout in the comments. I figured I would talk more about the general flow of the bout on this one, since upsets tend to be just as much emotional contests as tactical ones. There is a layer of tactics going on here too, but I didn't really have time to go in depth about it. Anyway, I hope you appreciated this. Next up will be the rematch of the 2013 World Championship Final, Miles Chamley-Watson versus Archer Akhmat Kuzin. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and as always, stay sharp.